People realise this and will invest money, obviously, to make money. So the more searches there are for your terms you want to target, or the more money there is in them, there'll be more competition. You won't get there naturally because people will be proactively doing these things to make Google like their website. Okay, this is more kind of the meat of the subject now, which is understanding search engines. So what do search engines actually look for on your website and why? Okay, search engines look for regularly updated content. So is your site updated once a week, once a month, or has it been the same for the last 2-3 years? Search engines also look for unique content. By unique content, I mean if you run a website, say a news website about technology, Google's not going to be very impressed if you've just gone to BBC News and done a copy and paste job and plonked it on your website. Google's very good at picking out who's the original or who's the most authoritative source of information. Good use of titles and headers, which we kind of covered earlier. And again, inbound links from reputable sites. So just to clear that up, if you visit a web page, say again, we'll use BBC News as an example, and they're running a story, and they might link to another website. That's what I'm talking about there. You need to get other related websites to link to yours, to your website or your pages. Another important thing to remember is Google actually ranks pages. It doesn't really kind of rank websites as a whole. It ranks individual pages. One, not a lot many people know, the actual age of your domain name, how long you've had your domain name registered, plays quite a large part in how well you rank in Google. The reason for that is there's a lot of people who start up websites and break Google's rules, or start up websites just trying to scam people out of money with eBay, things like that. So the longer your website's been around and the longer it's played by the rules, you've kind of got a track record. So Google kind of, you get Google's ear a bit more because they can trust what you're publishing. And sites you link to, lastly. Now, that only really applies if you link to what we're talking about one before, which is bad neighbourhood websites, which is if there are sites which are proactively breaking Google's rules to try and rank better, and you link to them, you associate with them. So a general rule of thumb is basically just link to websites you know are reputable and you can trust, and you'll be fine. It doesn't really matter as long as you don't do it excessively if you link to other websites. And the reason these things are useful, if you've got regularly updated content, from an algorithmic point of view, you're more likely to have useful content, because you have to bear in mind Google's entire goal, their entire company goal in terms of search, is to provide the most relevant result for what you're searching for. So if you've got two websites, they're both 50 pages big, they're both about dog kennels, one's updated every day and one's updated every month, it's more likely bet that the one that's updated daily has got more useful information on it. Same with unique content, it shows that you're an excellent resource and you're providing your own unique ideas and content and not just copying other people. Because again, if you do a search, say you're doing some research on something, you do a search, you don't really want two identical pages to appear in the same search result. Because if number 2 doesn't answer a question, then number 3 is not going to if it's exactly the same. So that's actually what happens. If you just kind of rip off content and put it on your pages, the likelihood is that page won't appear in search results because it'll be sandboxed. Good use of title headers. If it's easy to determine content, and again making it easy for search engines to work out what the page is actually about. Inbound links from reputable sites. Think of them again, as I said, like votes, and not all votes are equal. If you get a link from a website, which in Google's eyes is more authoritative, that's worth a lot more than, say, my homepage about my dog again. So if BBC News link to you, that's probably worth 500 of me linking to you. Age of the domain, again, if users can trust your website, and sites you link to. And rule of thumb is good sites rarely link to bad sites, so you won't see Amazon or BBC linking to sort of really dodgy, spurious websites. So we'll go into a bit more detail now. So we're building a web page, and a web page is made up of a few basic elements. The first thing, kind of the most important, one of the most important things, I'd say one of the most important things is the actual title of the page, which appears in the blue bar at the top. The easiest way to actually think of web pages is like documents. If I gave you an essay, on the front page you're going to want the title, so you know exactly what the content is you're about to read. So the title should be essentially a very accurate and brief description of what the content of the page is, and that's when you start marrying it up with keyword research that you've previously done. So if you know people are searching for a specific search term and you've got content which matches that, you marry them up. You don't do what you see quite a lot of websites doing, which is think we want to rank for these keywords, so they put their kind of 50 favourite keywords in the title. That leads to our kind of dog analogy of confusion as to what is this page actually about. We want to build separate pages for specific bits of information. The meta description is actually the little snippet that appears when you do a search on Google. You get all the titles of the websites and you get a couple of lines. That doesn't actually have really anything to do with how well you rank, but it's got something to do with how many people actually click on your results, because that's your chance. That's like your little kind of advert board there to tell them what the page is about. Actually, on page then, your web page generally should have what are called headers on. A standard web page can consist of what's called a header 1, header 2, and header 3 tag, which by default are kind of big, medium, and slightly smaller. And these should be used as basically sections. Again, if you were writing a manual or something, you'd have your header 1 tag as maybe a synonym of what the title is of the page. So again, it's like you've opened up your essay, here's kind of the slightly more in-depth description of what the document's about. And then you'd use header 2 tags to break up maybe different groups of paragraphs. So just, if you've got something that's very closely related, say you had we'll go with our dogs again, say you've got a website about looking after a specific breed of dog, that would all be on one page. It wouldn't make any sense to kind of break it up, but you'd have cleaning your dog's ears, cleaning your Doberman's ears, how to groom your Doberman, because they're very closely related but they deserve their own sections. So you're ticking the boxes of a user can scan down the page and say, brilliant, this tells me my Doberman how to clean its ears, groom it, and how often I should exercise it. But also for Google, it gives more importance to these header tags. So very quickly, it didn't even really need to read the rest of the stuff in the page. It knows exactly what's on there. In terms of actual keywords in the content, in the actual text, you really don't need to worry about it. Just type it naturally, how you would for the end user. Google's really clever at language processing, so you don't need to worry about kind of jamming in your keywords as many times as possible. It won't help you. And lastly, actually probably again one of the more important things, when you link to other pages in your website, okay, rather than having to see our gallery of pictures, click here, and then you see click here in blue, they link with that. What you need to do is actually link with the relevant keywords. So if it's click here for Doberman Gallery, you'd label Doberman Gallery as the link. The reason for that is Google actually kind of tags the following page with what you've linked to it with, how you tag that page. So for instance, in this example, we've got a picture of a hedgehog. There's no content on that page, there's just a picture. Google doesn't know it's a picture of a hedgehog, but if you linked all throughout your site to that page with the word hedgehogs, Google would know then, okay, people are saying this is about hedgehogs. And that's one of the main reasons, that's one of the main ways how Google stops you kind of trying to dupe its search algorithms. So if you write a page of information and you try and get it to rank for something by stuffing loads of keywords in, Google can look at all these hundreds of websites that link to you and see what words they link to you with. So if you've got say you've written, you said, okay, I want to get people to look at my loans page. I'm going to write an article about Britney Spears because I know loads of people search for her, so I'll get the traffic for Britney Spears searches. Then people see all my loans adverts. So you stuff a load of content about loans in there. But then what will happen is the people will read it, say, okay, it's an article about Britney Spears, it's a very good one, I'll link to it with Britney Spears. So then Google's going to say, okay, well there's content about loans on here, but that's not the meat of it, it's actually about Britney Spears, so you're not going to rank. So it kind of goes on this more democratic view on what's on your website. So it's kind of hard to trick. Link building, which we just touched on. When many pages link to a page, that page earns a significant quantity of link juice, link equity. You've probably heard it called PageRank before. Every time you link to a page on the internet, you are voting for that page and you're giving some of your website's authority as a vote for that page. So it's really important. The main kind of part of your online campaign, if you like, should be actually going back to real basics, producing really good content, and then finding a mechanism to let people find that content and then link to it. That's what will get you ranked well. I just like the hedgehog picture. Okay. Gaining new links is not as simple, unfortunately, as I've set up a new website, brilliant. I've got 100 ideas where I can get links from, so I'm just going to go and put links in loads of places all over the internet. Google looks, as we said, at the history of your website, so unnatural link growth. If you said to me, brilliant, build me loads of links, I'm like, okay, get working, and I built you loads of links, and then about here, so we've gone over, say, maybe 2-3 months, you've got loads of links and you're ranking, say, second for your search term, and you say to me, brilliant, thanks Mark, you've done your job, no more SEO thanks, I'm there. Obviously what will happen then is, you'll probably get a few more links, but your link velocity, the rate at which you gain links will go down. So Google will then say, well hang on, what's happened here? This guy I thought had really good content, he's getting all these links, and now he's getting none. So if you build these profiles, these link profiles, where it's quite obvious you've been kind of manually building links, and then you just stop, you can lose your rankings. Natural organic link growth looks more like this, which is as you go up the rankings, you're more likely anyway to get links yourself. Because if you're ranking for terms, more people find your website, so they're more likely to link to you anyway. So actually, as part of our strategy, if you launch a new website, you kind of have to do the software approach to begin with. Because there's no way Google's going to buy it if you launch a website and then a week later you've got 10,000 people linking to you. It can be done, but it doesn't work. So when I say links, types of links, this is some really basic stuff which I hope every kind of SEO search agency will be doing. There's littered all over the internet, and I say littered, loads of directories of websites. These are kind of early 90s era things before search engines. You go through your categories and then you can find websites that are relevant to that category. Nobody really uses them to find web pages anymore, but they work really well with search engines because there's probably 1,000-2,000 of them. So what a lot of SEO agencies will do when you first launch your website is make sure your site is submitted to all of these directories, making sure you start with the reputable ones like the Yahoo directory first, because Google will see these links, and even though you've put the link there, it still counts as a vote, if you like. Blog comment too. If you participate in people who are blogging or writing about subjects,